record. Tell me your name and what rank you are.
My name is Robert Walko. I was a technical sergeant in the United States Air Force.
Tell me a little bit about Strategic Air Command for those who don't know what it is.
Strategic Air Command, the Air Force, that was their section that had carried most of them carried the nukes. As a matter of fact, Strategic Air Command had all the nukes except maybe TAC might have had some. TAC, which is Tactical Air Command, and the Navy had some too. But that's it. Mainly the Air Force Strategic Air Command was this retaliatory force for, in case we got bombed. So, and we were always ready to go just in case. We sat on alert, ground alert, and there was even airborne alert that they flew 24 hours a day in the sky.
Explain to us why you have two different birth dates.
That's a secret. I can't tell you that. The reason I have two different birthdays is just to confuse my wife.
Perfect. If memory serves me correct, you started in the Army, right? But you ended up in the Air Force. Explain that.
All right. I started off in the Army because there was no vacancies in the Air Force. And I started off in the Army, went through basic training at Abilene Proving Grounds, Maryland. From there, I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey. From Fort Dix, advanced infantry training. And I got stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky while in the Army. And I got orders to come to Korea. And I served 18 months in Korea. Came back, and I had less than 90 days to serve, so they gave me early out, which I got out early, practically 3 months early. And then I went back home to Pennsylvania. And back in the 50s, jobs were hard to get, and the minimum wage was $1 an hour. So I says, and I kept looking out of state for work. I couldn't find anything, so I went and I took my mother shopping one day in a city at Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and I just happened by and stopped by, and I said, this is not for me. I said, I'm going to join the service in the Air Force. So I got into the Air Force, and that's about it.
Explain, tell us about some of your memories in Korea.
Some of my memories in Korea was we used to go out and bivouac it was cold. That's the main memory. It was cold, and I believe that's why I wouldn't go back into the Army. So.
And so at some point you decided to make a career in the Air Force. Why did you end up staying?
Why ended up staying, I had maybe a little over either a year or less than a year in the Air Force, and I had no intentions of staying in until I met my youngest son's mother, and we fell in love, and I married her, and she was a diabetic, and I said, well, what am I going to do if something happens to her while I was out. You know, the main reason I stayed in the Air Force was for medical reasons for my wife.
All right. So right now you're in Bangkok, Thailand. Tell us a little bit about your history in Thailand.
My history in Thailand is I came over here, I believe it was around the 1st of August let me see, of 1959. No, yeah, 1959. And so, like I said, I met my wife then and decided to marry her. And I was stationed in a place in the town of Sadahip. And while I was there, this was now after I was married and everything, and my wife got into a car accident, which 2 of my boys were accidentally killed in the car wreck, and also my mother. And the son that's filming this wasn't even a little twinkle in the eye, my eye. So that's about it. I started my time in Korea. I mean, not Korea, but Thailand. Mm-hmm. Went back to the States and then was stationed at Plattsburgh Air Force Base in New York. And where my son was born, the one that's filming this now.
Cool.
So.
Explain to us a typical day at U-Tapao when you were stationed there.
A typical day at U-Tapao was meet your airplane, load them up with bombs, wait for a mission to come down, and go to Vietnam and bomb the hell out of Vietnam. So, and that was it. Work, 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 work. That's what it was. Work, 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 work.
And you told me one time about one crashed on the tarmac. Explain that incident.
No, it didn't crash on the tarmac. It crashed on the runway on takeoff. It was back in the rainy season. Rain, man! It rained so hard that, and this was the last one going right off. They used to go off in four airplane cells, and it was raining so hard that this one didn't pick up enough speed in the bad weather. Lost power, and they hit the brakes to try to stop the roll, and it caught fire, and so they had to abandon the aircraft and get out, and because the whole aircraft was on fire because of hot brakes, and like I say, the airplane, the B-52, caught fire, and excuse me. Everybody, they hovered. It was a rescue team. They hovered over the thing, and because they were looking to see if there was any surviving crew members out the B-52. And everybody in the B-52 got out, but nobody notified the chopper to get out of there. And when the dang B-52 blew, all the shrapnel from the bombs and everything just blew the chopper out of the air, and that was it. Goodbye, chopper.
How many crew were on that chopper?
I don't know. I have any idea. Whatever the chopper crew was.
But needless to say, they didn't make it out of that, right?
No, they did not make it out.
And you told me at one point you could feel the heat from the blaze up on where you were up on the hill.
Oh, yes. Yes, you could.
Explain to us what bomb comp is and how your teams did in bomb comps and what's that all about.
Okay, bomb comp, Strategic Air Command used to have a competition they called bombing navigation competition. So I was picked, my airplane was picked to go to BombCon, so we came to Orlando, Florida, back in, I don't know what year it was, but it was in the, it had to be around 1971, 72. And our wing came out 13th place. And I believe it was the wing from Minot Air Force Base come out first place.
And did you do other bomb comps, or was it just that one?
No, it was just that one.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I was picked to go and become a controller on the alert force, which was the main, being in charge, had to make sure that all the aircraft was up to snuff and everything, and make sure that everything they were ready to go at all times.
So you were in charge of a bunch of teams of a bunch of planes then.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about B-52s and what other planes you worked on in your career.
Okay, B-52 was mainly in my Air Force career was in SAC. And KC-135s, which was the tanker version of the 707, which had a boom on it, which you refueled.
And did you work on any fighter jets?
Oh, I worked on FB-111.
Huh, a bomber.
Yeah, but it was sort of like a. It was a FB-111, but they called it a FB-1. No, it was an F-111. I'm sorry. But with the BFB designated in there this was a bomber version of it, of the FB, of the F-111, what it was.
But they basically took a fighter jet and they modified it to make it a bomber. Is that what they did?
Well, the fighter jet, the F-111 could carry nukes too,
Mm-hmm.
but they used some of them in Nam, and they used to call it McNamaras Follies.
Yeah.
When General Curtis LeMay was in charge of SAC, you could they'd send somebody on the base to see if they could penetrate security. Right. And we all had line badges, what they called identification badges, right? And if you didn't check them line badges pretty much, somebody might have a picture of a monkey on it, and see, or stuff like that, just so they could see and get through and penetrate and get on. I mean, you had to constantly be on alert for penetrators.
And these were put in by the government themselves.
It was put in by, it's put in by Strategic Air Command.
To make sure
General LeMay.
Make sure that your security was tight.
Yeah.
And what was the discipline for finding a penetrator in the ranks? Did you guys get in trouble too?
No, not really. But you got chewed out, But
yeah.
because we all had to be constantly on alert for penetrators.
Yeah. So, were there? I mean, there's a lot of stories of GIs marrying Vietnamese women and Thai women and Korean women. Were they worried about, espionage that way?
No, none whatsoever.
No, wasn't an issue in Southeast Asia?
No, it wasn't an issue.
Okay. So you got a chance to go back to U-Tapao about 10 years ago, which was 40 years or more after your first visit. What was that like?
Well, I got to go to U-Tapao, which is in Sadahi, Thailand, and it's changed so much because I was looking to see where the B-52s were parked and everything, but everything has changed. They used to have revetments that they kept the bombers in. They're gone. Everything. The whole thing is different. And I recently, a couple of days ago, was just there, and we couldn't even get on base because they said security was so tight there because it's the Thai Navy runs the base.
Yeah. And it's sort of right in the middle of Southeast Asia where all the major powers want to be, which is why Thailand is holding on to that to not give countries like America or England or China the upper edge. They want to keep it to themselves, seems like. Years back we went to Kingman, Arizona, I believe it was, to the Boneyard out there.
Kingman.
Yeah, tell me what you felt when you saw those your B-52s, your babies out there in the desert.
Yeah, really bright memories because I just looked at the tail numbers on them things and I said, my son was with me, and his friend. And we went and drove around and just looking up at all the tail numbers. And I say, hey, I said, Jude, I said, I worked on that airplane, I worked on that airplane, as we're driving past the things.
Bring back memories.
Yeah, it brought back memories.
How long did you spend with a single plane? Did you see it several times throughout the course of your career?
Yeah, because I used to be a crew chief on them.
Yeah. So they keep coming back to you? Because you were you specialized in the maintenance on them and stuff.
Right.
So you were one of the guys that they would always bring to fix them up.
Right.
And I imagine you went up in them a lot, right?
I flew. Yeah, I got on flying status. Mainly, I got on flying status from money.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ever go up with the pilots and stuff on runs or anything like that?
What do you mean?
Like when they were going on their bomb runs or just on flights or?
No. Every mission that I flew on, it was a training mission.
Okay.
All they did was just bomb by radar.
Okay.
Yeah. They never had any real weapons on them.
Oh. But the point was so you'd know how the plane works more because you're always working on it. So to see it in action.
Yeah, sort of.
Tell us about life after Air Force. Were you sought after by Boeing and those guys or what?
No, I tried to get to go to Iran, which they were accepting, but that fell through. So I'm glad I didn't, because all them people that were taken hostage over there in Iraq,
Yeah.
So, and my wife wanted to go there in a worse way. She just wanted to get someplace, which I never did. I never could get.
Yeah.
After my tour in Thailand, I tried to submit it to go to Germany, but never fell. That all fell through. my Germany was Plattsburgh Air Force Base, New York.
And all your kids were born on Air Force bases, right?
Yes.
All you had five kids, and
Yep.
where were they born?
Where were they born? The first one was born at Griffiths Air Force Base in Rome, New York. The second one was born at Griffiths Air Force Base in Rome, New York. The third was born at Fairchild Air Force Base, Washington, in Spokane, Washington. BJ, David, and Pam, and Mark. Mark was born in Fairchild, and got transferred back to, was scheduled to go to March Air Force Base, and got transferred back to Rome, New York. And while there, the latest edition, which is the filmer right now, the last caboose. Born in Plattsburgh.
Plattsburgh, New York.
Yeah.
Yep. That base doesn't exist anymore, does it?
No, none of them bases exist.
They got rid of them in the Clinton era, didn't they? Get rid of a bunch of those Air Force bases. Throughout your career, do you remember what accommodations or medals or honors or any of that stuff you got?
No, but I have them all home in Georgia, which I now reside. I don't know, 9 or 10 of them.
Yeah. Anything? I remember seeing some papers about presidential something.
Presidential Unit Citation.
Yeah, what is that? Presidential unit.
That's a special outfit that that they give like an outstanding unit.
And your unit got that?
Yeah.
Which means you were top dogs in your field. Is that what you do?
Yeah. That was the whole wing now.
Oh yeah, got it. So, did you when you guys were at U-Tapao, was there ever any threat of being bombed or anything there? What was the procedure there in case something like that happened?
Just like any other base, security.
Yeah. Watching like a hawk.
Yeah. We had Thai guards. I guess it was the Thai Marines that used to guard it because it was a Thai naval base that we were on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You didn't get much R&R time, did you, in Thailand? I think you.
Yeah, I got a week off one time.
You got a week off.
I mean, actually, they'd give you 2 weeks off, but I only took a week.
What'd you go see when you had a week off?
Well, went to see a bunch of. Went and saw the old palace. Went and saw the Temple of the Dawn. Went and saw different Buddhists. And that's about it. And
your Singha beer guys?
Do what?
Your Singha beer guys?
Yeah, my Singha beer. When I first landed, we left San Francisco, and we landed in Bangkok, Thailand, and they put us on a hotel there, and there's a beer here that's called Singha, and I kept sending the doorman. He was an Indian, I'm not an Indian from India. The man was from India. I kept sending him out to get me a big sing guy. And by the time it was probably time to come to U-Tapao, I probably was loopy as hell.
Okay, take a look at this picture and tell us who's in that picture.
On this picture right here, from left to right, was my wife's girlfriend, which stood up as our maid of honor. The woman next to her was my wife, where she's deceased now. The guy in uniform is me. And the guy in civvy clothes was my best man, which he's deceased now.
What was his name?
His name was Francis Kosher.
Francis.
Nickname Itzer.
Itzer. And what kind of uniform are you wearing there? What?
That's Air Force uniform.
And but is it like the dress uniform?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And what patch do you got on there?
What patch where? You
Is
mean
there
the
a
stripes?
Yeah, the
that
stripes.
was I was just a two-striper then.
A two-striper back then.
Yeah.
When you got out, what did you end up? What was you end up at?
Six-striper.
Six-striper.
No, five-striper.
Five-striper. Yeah. So what was your rank when you got out?
Technical sergeant.
Technical sergeant. Tell us what's in that group of pictures right there.
Well, the bottom left is me when I was taught.
Yeah. A little kid, little baby.
Yeah. The bottom right is a picture of me in Korea when I was in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
The top right was the Bob Hope show
Where was that at?
on base at U-Tapao.
Oh.
The top left one, I don't know where that's at.
It's a Thai temple, looks like, right?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
At first I thought it was the Temple of the Dawn, but it's not.
It's another one. Do you miss being in the service at all?
Well, not really. I mean, when I first got out, I did, you know. But maybe memories come back sometime, you know, and that's it. But I don't miss being in there because it changed. The services has changed so much since I retired back in 1975. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think for better or for worse?
I have no idea. I have no idea how to run now. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been what, almost 50 years retired, or maybe even more, since 1975.
You got any? Do you have any advice for people that are potentially wanting to get into the armed services, or specifically the Air Force, for the next generation?
Have any? Yeah. If you have a college education, go to officers training school and become an officer. Because that's where the money is, boys. That's where the money is.